Hello everybody and welcome to the latest Elite FPL Saturday night reaction with myself and a good friend of the show and myself, Ray. Ray, do you want to just continue what you were just talking then? Because to be completely frank, I can't be bothered to speak tonight. So just talk to the audience what you were literally saying 2 seconds before I hit the live button. Please.
Yes. Stevo, your Patreon episodes are absolutely unbelievable because when you do these score predictions, all I hear is, right, everyone, let's play the game. Aston Villa 0, Arsenal 2. Arsenal 0, Aston Villa 2. And I'm laughing so much because I'm actually guessing the game while I'm on the train. I'm literally saying, is it...
Yeah, we'll come to it because, again, another game of Arsenal where it's Arsenal 2, Aston Villa 2. Arsenal 0, Aston Villa 2. Aston Villa 2, Arsenal 0. Arsenal 2, Aston Villa 1. Aston Villa 2, Arsenal 0. And it just goes, I find history, Ray, absolutely fascinating when it comes to score predictions and looking at what the common denominator is when it comes to matches. And for instance, Brentford. The reason why I went Salah captain is because for the last 4 or 5 games at home, Brentford have conceded 2 goals. The last few games that Liverpool have played away from home, Liverpool have scored 2 goals. So I thought, right, well, there's a common denominator here. Liverpool are going to score 2 goals. What was the score today, Ray?
Brentford 0, Liverpool 2. That's all I want to say the whole time. 2-0. We got to do it in your way. 2-0.
And it legitimately fascinates me when it correlates with what's going on. The only anomalies this particular game week from a history standpoint were Crystal Palace away at West Ham, which is normally a high scoring game, but this week it was... Go on, Ray.
Wait, which game?
West Ham Crystal Palace.
2-0.
I was hoping you were going to say West Ham 0.
West Ham 0, Crystal Palace 2.
And then, of course, the same with the Leicester versus Fulham game, which ended...
Leicester 0, Fulham 2.
And what really interests me is that when you look at the home form, away form, and it is just the same thing over and over. Another anomaly, funny enough, was your game, where pretty much every single, for the last 6 fixtures at home, it has been a team winning to a clean sheet or a draw to 0. And Aston Villa, away from home, funny enough, have lost every game to 0. And yet today, I want to start with that game, Ray, because we talk regularly about FPL across voice notes, and you said, right, we'll find out which team selection out of mine and yours comes through. Well, yours came through because you picked Robinson and Watkins ahead of Sarr and Timber. So well done to you. We'll get that out of the way now. I was listening into the game for the first half, and all I could summarise from it, without watching it, was Arsenal pretty much dominating the game and Aston Villa are kind of trying to hit on the counter. And I thought, oh, this could actually end up being with a double clean sheet here. And then literally, I had a break. It got to 6:35. And no, fuck that. It got to 6:44. Put the old earbud in, put on Radio 5 Live, and within 0.2 seconds it was... I don't believe it. It's an own goal for Marino. And then they started carrying on talking that, no. Actually, Tillemans looks like he got ahead. Ray, what the fuck happened?
Yes, you were quite right. I mean, I was watching the game. We were actually at a friend's, the missus and I, who went to a friend's and watched the first half. And honestly, to be honest with you, until we were 2-0 up, we were pretty comfortable, actually. Like, we controlled the play quite well. And... kept kept Aston Villa kind of like an arm's length. The moment we went 2-0 up, though, guess what happened? We just sat back. They got a goal within 5 minutes. And then when they actually got their equaliser, it was fully deserved. So in the first hour, we were playing very well and controlled Villa pretty much, like completely. They had no real opportunities. Havertz, yes, I'll repeat that again. Havertz actually scored a goal. And all I thought was, right, let's keep it 10 minutes, keep it calm. And unfortunately, they got the goal. Watkins always scores against Arsenal, which is why I advise that you play him against us. But, it is what it is. And then after that, we actually kind of dominated play because Aston Villa kind of just sat back. We had a goal cancelled, rightfully so, I think, from a Marino shot that hit apparently Havertz's arm in the area. You know how it is if it hits the arm of the attacking player in the area, the goal is disallowed. But overall, perhaps we deserve to win the game. But again, we go 2-0 up, and I just felt like, okay, we just sat back, and we're not as good defensively as people think. So, yeah, I mean, did we deserve to win?
Do you want to just expand on that for a second? You're not as good defensively, because when I brought in Arsenal defenders, I thought, right then, peak Jose Mourinho era, peak Scott Parker era of Burnley, Arsenal don't concede a goal whatsoever. The second Steve-O brings in double Arsenal defence, they become Plymouth fucking Argyle. Tell us why.
I think, and I think I said this to you at the start of the season, I think when we're at home, we are not as defensively solid because, we feel like we need to come out and play expansive football, which is normal in front of your fans. And the problem is today Saliba was injured, so that meant Partey went out right back, which is a move I never like, and then Timber played at centre half. And the thing is, because Aston Villa are so devastating in the counter-attacks, which I have been for 2 years under Emery, is that every time that they countered, once we were 2-0 up, they always looked like they were going to score a goal. And when they made it 2-2, between 55 and 70 minutes when they got the goals, which is ridiculous considering how bad defensively that is in 15 minutes, I couldn't actually argue with them scoring a goal. But the thing is that Arsenal defence, in my opinion, is not becoming quite the attractive proposition as it was in the past. I think having one Arsenal defender is enough, like Gabriel. In Telegraph, funnily enough, I only have Gabriel. Is that I just don't think we are solid enough offensively defensively, because offensively, Steve-O, we are fucking boring. We are really boring. Like, we're very predictable what we're going to do from the fact that I don't feel like possession-wise we're solid anymore. Literally only because Saka's injured now. That defensively, every time a team come forward, we look vulnerable. So, yeah, it's disappointing, obviously, that we drew. I'm not going to go crazy like Arsenal fans and say, oh, the title's over because, there's so many points to play for. But ultimately, I just think, this isn't a result I'm completely shocked by, despite the fact that we were 2-0 up.
Mahit's saying here, let's face it, Ray. I've just scrolled away. Injuries have crushed our season. Odegaard is out of form and we have no attacking firepower. Is that a roundabout way of summing up Arsenal?
Yeah, if we're gonna throw FPL, fantasy out of it, I definitely feel I said to you about a month ago that Odegaard's our best attacker, and I think maybe that's not. I think I was just being a bit excitable, really, but I think he's our key cog of creativity. But Saka's like he's a hitman, if you like. Like he will, he'll ultimately deliver at the end of the day. And yes, injuries are a fact of the season, Mohit. Last season, we didn't have that many, and we in my opinion, we should have won the Premier League, but we didn't. And yeah, without us buying an attacker, which we haven't so far, I cannot see us winning the league, because I'm sure we'll cover the Liverpool game in a bit, Sivo. But is ultimately it's attacks that win leagues, in my opinion. Defenses keep out clean sheets, but ultimately you need to win matches, and that's just not something we do often enough, because I think we've drawn 8 games out of 22, which is insane. That's a lot of games.
According to Dan, Odegaard is garbage. Is that a harsh statement to be making about Odegaard?
Well, 2 things happened with Odegaard. He was out for about 6 weeks with an injury. He came back, and I think his missus had a kid, and I can't imagine that he's just sleeping through the night. When the kids, I mean, I got twins obviously, but they're 7 now, but. initially when they were born, like, my God, they'd wake up at like 3 a.m. So I can't imagine that helps the psyche too much. But I will agree that with Dan, that I don't think Odegaard's trash, but I will say that he's out of form. And my issue is when he's in form, I do feel it might be too late in regards to a title, if that makes sense, my man.
Isn't it amazing, like, what's his face, Colm saying here, the fact that with Saka injured, it means that, what does he say? Saka's injury is giving the opportunity to an extra man, and now they don't need to double up on anyone. Isn't it amazing how when I said this weeks ago, months ago, I say it every bloody season till I'm blue in the face, which is whenever a team loses a key component, whether it's their goalkeeper, whether it's their centre-back, whether it's their right-back, whether it's their centre midfielder, whatever, it almost completely throws any plans out the window for any team. It's like, I don't know what to do. It's like that whole scene in The Simpsons where the power plant goes into meltdown and Homer's like, I don't know what to do. Just do what you did before. Okay, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. It feels that way when it comes to football teams, in the sense of, since Saka's been injured, Arsenal's form has been okay, but they've lost/drawn a few games which really, if he was probably available, they probably would have won. Man City, they've lost Rodri. Look where they are this season. Who was it? There was another team that lost a key component. I've completely forgotten who it was. And once again, once they lose that particular player, they've stopped they stopped winning their games. And all these things, I just find it so fascinating. I mean, for you, Ray, Saka not being in the team, do you really see the difference in what he actually now brings when he does play?
Yeah, I think I wanted to have a conversation about De Bruyne in that part, but of course, out of respect to your answer, the second point is that, Arteta is such a, what's the word, a well-versed manager in regards to the kind of patterns he wants to play, is that Saka, Odegaard, and Ben White, bless him, are kind of key increments of that. And the problem is that when Odegaard has the ball, normally he knows Saka or even Ben White are going to make those runs like last season and the season before, where it's devastating against the opposition. Now what's happening is that we're playing Martinelli out on the right. He's not a right winger. He scored a goal today. He was solid enough performance. We should have won the game ultimately. And then he doesn't have his right back making overlapping runs in regards to Ben White, because Timber's not a guy who makes overlapping runs. So ultimately is that without Saka, our most devastating finishing attacker, is that, we look a bit stale, to be honest with you, Sibo. And there was a point I want to make as well, is that, I had a good conversation with a friend of mine yesterday about, if we had an all-time 11. And I spoke about De Bruyne, and I said the problem with De Bruyne, as incredible as he is, he's been injured for like 30% of the matches. So he's missed 30% of Premier League matches for Man City. And yeah, there's a whole thing about being unlucky and players being injured and everything like that. But, Salah's never injured, and Salah plays and he performs, and he's, in my opinion, he'd be my right winger if I played an all-time 11 in the Premier League. And the point being is there's an element of luck as well, but there's obviously consistency of performance. And Saka, we've run to the absolute ground, while with Liverpool in someone like Salah, because Salah doesn't come back defensively, he could save a lot of his time and effort, can't he? While with Saka, he's been pretty much an offensive asset and defensive asset in the last 3 years under Arteta. So a long-winded way to answer your question is absolutely we've missed Saka 100%. But my big issue, like a lot of Arsenal fans, is that we've never had a player who can cover for Saka, which is why he's played every single game. And now I wouldn't be surprised if he's out for the season, Steve. I know they're saying in March, but, and hamstring rip takes about 4 months to recover. So, yeah.
Just looking at the table here while I can actually run whoscored.com without any problems, is that if Newcastle had won today, they'd be level on points with Nottingham Forest, and in turn 3 points behind you. And yet today was a day where you needed to win. You need to win, Ray. And I wouldn't go as far as to say you've bottled it, but Villa's away form prior to today was loss.
Can you say the scoreline so I can have a giggle?
Certainly, more than happy to tell you the scoreline. It was Liverpool 2, Aston Villa 0. Chelsea 3, Aston Villa 0. Nottingham Forest 2, Aston Villa, Ray?
0.
No, 1. Newcastle 3, Aston Villa
1.
No, 0. So
I'm good at this game.
Yeah, join Patreon for $4.99 a month. You get to play that fucking game. God, well worth the money. And then, of course, prior to today's game, they won that one fixture away at Everton, where they won. Ray, what was the scoreline? What was the scoreline against Aston?
1-0. I knew that. No. Say it your Steve way. 1-0.
Yeah. Whereas Arsenal at home, let's play again. Let's just play this. Do you know what? Now I'm just taking the piss. For anybody watching this, congratulations. You've pressed a button on a poxy phone or your phone or your TV just to tune into this shite.
The unsubscribe button, yeah? That's the button they press, the unsubscribe.
Yeah. Trust me, I'm fully aware they press the unsubscribe button, Ray. Oh, I'm fully aware they do that. So here we go, Ray. We're going to play a game. It's Guess the Score with Steve-O. All at home, the last 5 fixtures. Arsenal 3, Nottingham Forest
0.
Arsenal 2, Man United
0.
Arsenal 0, Everton.
Fucking 0. Ridiculous game.
Arsenal 1, Ipswich
0.
And then you conceded a goal against Tottenham where it ended up being 2-1. So your form at home going into this fixture, in fact, your top of the table at home at the moment, 1-7 drawn 4, was defensively, you're really good at home. Whereas Aston Villa, away from home, they're fucking shit. And yet today, the one time that I personally think, I think this is going to be a tight game today. I think Arsenal are going to do a professional job. And, I don't know if Saliba had anything to do with the fact that you conceded 2 goals. I don't know. If he was playing, would it have ended 2-2? Who knows? But come into this game and then you come away conceding 2 goals, which is the same amount of goals that you've conceded in the past fucking 6 games. Like, Ray, it's fucking shit, mate. From an FPL point of view and even a scoreline point of view.
Yeah, I mean, see, but when you're using a bottling word, I was pretty comfortable with it because, we're not a better team than we were last season, unfortunately, despite the fact that we've added, the likes of Mourinho, Calafiori are actually not in our first team. We got Lewis Skelly who's playing very well, and Mourinho only played because Partey had to play right back, because Timber was at centre half, because Saliba was injured, of course. But we're not, in my opinion, we're not a better team than we were last season. The statistics, in my opinion, aren't showing it. And, perhaps bottle is a bit early because it's only been 22 games. But I look, and I think I said this to you about a month ago, the last time I was on, is that I just want us to focus on ourselves. Let's get some form going. Let's get some wins going. Let's start to build up some momentum or victories. I know we haven't lost in 12, 13 games in the Premier League, but, we've drawn 8 out of 22 games, Sivo. That is not Premier League winning form. I think out of 22 games, we've got 44 points. So that will be ultimately 76 points or 78 points at the end of the season. It won't win a title. So do I think Liverpool will drop points? Absolutely. But with this way our squad is at the moment, if we do not buy an attacking asset, there's no way we're going to win the league. So until we buy that player, Sivo, I think we're just going to be at this same unfortunate situation at the moment where we create loads of opportunities, which we do, but we just can't finish it because Havertz is not a killer, even though he scored the goal. And, we rely so much on a player who's injured in Saka that, the moment he's out, we look toothless, don't we? And you as a guy on the fence who's just, unbiased, you're probably watching Arsenal thinking, imagine if they had a top scorer. Does that make sense?
You are the Burnley of the Premier League. So we're going to play a game with you, Ray. Here we go. Another game of Guess the Score. This is Burnley's last 6 results at home.
No.
We're just going to play the game, Ray. Here we are. Guess the scoreline. Burnley 2, Coventry.
Okay. Nil.
We then have, once it decides to load up here, which of course is decided. I can tell you exactly. Burnley 1, Middlesbrough.
1.
Yes. Burnley 0, Derby.
Nil.
Burnley 2, Watford.
1, I think.
It was, yeah. Burnley 0, Stoke.
Nil. Definitely nil.
And then, of course, last night's game, 0. In fact, if we're going to look through...
Trafford nil, Sunderland nil.
Well, this is Burnley's results across... I think they've had now 6 or 7 nil draws at home. In fact,
incredible.
Just to kind of put in perspective the Championship, how absolutely bonkers this particular league is. Burnley have, I believe, once this stupid thing loads up, they have scored some of the least amount of goals in the league, and yet we're third. So we scored 31 goals. You go to the bottom of the league, Plymouth bottom have scored 25, Luton 27. Then you've got Portsmouth 32, Hull 26, Cardiff 29, Derby 31. In fact, it's pretty much the majority of the teams below that we've got more goals than, but only by like 1 or 2 goals. We've conceded the least. We've only conceded 9 this whole season. And we're third.
By far, Steve-O. Yeah, I mean, by far. I mean, the closest team are Sheffield United, who I've just conceded less than double of what you guys have at 17. But yeah, defensively, it's astounding what Parker's been able to do, to be honest with you.
Well,
there's too many draws, isn't it? 11 draws in 27.
We go back to it.
Arsenal standards.
We haven't got a striker. We're testing out this Zion Fleming, who isn't a natural-born striker. He's a creative midfielder, the number 10 role, which is what he performed at Millwall, doing so well there. I just put him up front because Jay Rodriguez just can't cut it, which he can. He can do a job. Lyle Foster's just got back from injury, but he seems to be doing okay on the left wing since Parker's put him out there for now. But he's a striker. And when you don't have these natural-born finishers in the positions where they're supposed to be, which is, guess what, Ray? In the box, like Arsenal, when you're creating so many opportunities and the wingers on the right and the left-hand side, or pretty much Anthony anyway, on the right-hand side is looking up and going, oh, there's nobody there, right? Bring it back. Let's start again. Let's see if we can get anybody in the... Nope, can't get anybody in the box. If it's the same with Arsenal that are in the Premier League, it's a serious problem. And that's Arsenal.
Yeah. Quite right. I mean, when we were... No, I know how many people are going to switch off here, but... when Arsenal were a top team 20 years ago, is we would play football it's quite similar to what we do now, but we'd do it with pace. It would be like quick, crisp, incisive passing to the point where teams will know what we're doing, but we're so quick and risque in our quick side-to-side football is that eventually we get into the right positions, and you got the likes of Lauren, Ashley Cole, Ljungberg, Pires cutting it back, and the likes of Henry, Vieira or Ljungberg would cut in, would be on the end of things. So even though the football is predictable now, if you played with a bit more pace and a little more risk, I actually think it would be successful with these players. But, with Burnley, I mean, I basically look at results out of respect to you as my friend. But with Arsenal, at least, it's like, yeah, people know what will Arsenal do with open play. But if we played with a bit more pace like we did last season, is, we got the quality and the talent to, get the results. But unfortunately, Sivo, is, I said to you beginning of the stream, but our football is so fucking boring and uninspiring and so slow. Is that even me as an Arsenal fan for so many years, and I've spoken to you a lot about Arsenal in voice notes and when we met as well, is that we are relying on set pieces now to almost be our opportunities, like we're brilliant at it. I don't condemn it at all. I think it's amazing how good we are, but it's getting to a point where set pieces are our best opportunity at doing well, and that will not win the league. And, I've said it probably 4 times already, but we'll say it a 5th time, is that if we don't buy an attacker, there's no way we're going to close the gap with Liverpool, because their attacking is incredible. And even today, I watched some of the highlights, is that, you always felt like they were going to create the real massive opportunities. And it's funny that Darwin got the goals, but if he didn't get the goals, you would have seen Gakpo, you would have seen Diaz, you would have seen Salah, and ultimately that's what the difference is really between Arsenal and Liverpool, is they have 3 or 4 incredible attackers and one of the best ever in Salah. And with us, we might have maybe the better defense, but ultimately is that won't win us the league. And like you said, a lot of people are talking about, we need to chase Liverpool. I'm like, hold on, Nottingham Forest are 2 points behind us, like you said, Bournemouth are 4 points behind us, Newcastle are 6 points behind us, I think Man City are closer to us than we are to Liverpool. So, we need to close that gap. We need to expand that gap further before we start looking at the league title, because at the moment, I do not feel we are good enough to win the league.
As it stands right now, Liverpool top, then Arsenal, Nottingham Forest. If they win tomorrow, who would have thought this at the start of the season?
You did if it was last season.
Yeah, by the 18th of January 2025, Nottingham Forest would be joint 3rd or joint 2nd with Arsenal. Seriously, it's absolutely ludicrous. And then you got Newcastle in 4th, and then it's like the Patreon league, to be honest with you. It's just 1 point in it. Newcastle 38, Chelsea 37. Okay, they may beat Wolves, so they'll be on 40 points. They just go ahead of Newcastle by 2. You've then got Bournemouth 37 points, Villa 36, Man City, depending if they win tomorrow, which they will do, they'll be on 38 points. This league, along with the Championship, I think this is probably the most competitive Championship season for a very, very long time. Normally in the Championship, there's normally 2 teams that stand out, and the rest of the dross. It's just by pure luck that they get into the playoffs, and then whoever comes up, comes up. But this season, you've got 4 teams in there, in Sheffield United, Burnley, Leeds, and Sunderland, all vying for those top 2 spots. To be honest with you, I wish there was some kind of clause which allowed teams to say, don't want to go up. Because I'm telling you now, we're going to be relegated immediately from the Premier League. It's just a drab experience every single bloody week, losing to the likes of West Ham, Crystal Palace, Fulham. Forget the likes of Man City, Chelsea and Liverpool. I'm talking about those types of teams. The teams that are like in the 10th down to 15th spot, and then you've got the likes of Wolves in there, and then the teams that are around you, the likes of Leeds and Sheffield United if they come up with us, or whomever. It's just a dreadful, dreary experience. Whereas at least this season, it just feels... I always call it competitive friendlies, where you're using, like in Scott Parker's case, this season as a way in which he can learn about the team and whatnot, and he's still trying to find how the hell we can start scoring goals with the players that we've got, and he's just doing enough to get by with winning games 1-0 or getting through with a 0-0 draw. But it'd be the following season if the gods allowed it, where they said, right then, Alan Pace, you've got an option here. You can either be promoted to the Premier League and get however many tens of millions of pounds, or you can stay in the Championship and just continue what you're doing and not get battered every single week. Obviously, he's going to choose the money for obvious reasons, but I think me, along with quite a few Burnley fans, would probably take the option of, can we just stay in the Championship? Because I can't be bothered every week. Oh, we've lost 3-0. Oh, good, we've lost 4-0. What's that, Man City? Yeah, away at them again, 5-0. Brilliant. Go to Arsenal at the Emirates. Oh, we're optimistic. Oh, we've lost 4-0 again. It's just boring, Ray. And for me, I don't want to be going up. Whereas, obviously, when you're talking in the Premier League, when it is the likes of Arsenal that are, I mean, they don't spend the money like Liverpool or Man City or even more specifically Chelsea do. I get that. But Jesus Christ, Ray, I really do think that you should be putting in, I mean, you are doing very, very well, but to be what could be level points with Nottingham Forest and then only 6 points ahead of Newcastle, and if Chelsea win, 4 points ahead of Chelsea. Jesus Christ! I mean, do you remember the corona? Was it not the coronavirus year? The Leicester winning year when everybody thought that Tottenham should be winning it, but Leicester just kept plodding along, and it was the only opportunity really because the likes of Arsenal and Chelsea and Man City and whatnot, and Liverpool, for whatever reason, weren't performing, so Leicester were taking advantage. But Tottenham were their nearest challengers and still couldn't get quite over the line. I just think that this season is that kind of season where Arsenal, with the quality of player that they've got and the momentum that they've built up over the last few seasons, this should have been the year where they could have taken advantage, especially with Arne Slot coming in. And ironically, he has slotted in just probably one of the greatest ever managerial change-arounds ever, potentially, if he comes out by winning the Premier League and another trophy. I think that would be an extraordinary achievement. But the only upside to your season, Ray, at the moment is just being so far ahead of Man City.
Yeah, it's a bit to unpack, but I think the big thing as well is Arteta doesn't really have any excuses, Steve. I mean, he's built the squad that he's wanted.
He had a problem with the ball, didn't he, the other day?
Yeah, I mean, it's suddenly it's like, oh, we really need a striker. I'm like, hold on, buddy, you bought like 10 fullbacks and 4 keepers in 4 years. So, the squad that we have at the moment, Steve, is very much his squad. There's no excuses, in my opinion. We need an attacker because we are blunt up top, and that's before Saka and Jesus being injured. And, what Slot has done is absolutely amazing. I agree with you. I am shocked because the moment Rodri got injured, I thought, oh my God, what an opportunity for Arsenal. Because I couldn't foresee as many defeats for Man City as you did. Quite frankly, you were very much like, even from an FPL aspect, let alone football, that's saying you really think Man City are going to struggle more than I did. Is that with Arsenal, we put ourselves in a position where Arteta buys so many midfielders and defenders that he's brilliant at getting a result and not losing. But I think I've said to you before is that when you want to win, Arteta's not your man. So, I'm very happy with Arteta. I'd keep him. And, if we somehow let him go, trust me, the likes of Barcelona and Real Madrid will be all over that. And he'd succeed with them. But, for us to make that next step is we need to add an element of risk to our play, which is very much against what Arteta's done the last 2 years. And to do that, you need to get your top strikers who are going to be a little bit unpredictable and a little bit erratic, but will get the results, i.e. someone like Haaland, someone like Salah, who, don't always have the 90% return rate, but when they do, it's absolutely devastating. So, anything I hear regarding you and how Arsenal are performing, I'm like, yeah, absolutely, because we have spent more than enough money. You were saying something about what Liverpool and Chelsea have spent. In the last 4 years, Arsenal are the third highest spenders, Sivo. So it's not like that we haven't had and net spenders. Yeah, net spenders. So that's after expenditures as well. So, we put ourselves in a position where ultimately in the next couple of years, we have to start getting trophies. And if we don't, then we have to look at the next evolution of manager, unfortunately. But isn't that what you want as a top team, right? If your manager doesn't succeed, surely you have to look at a better option. So, I agree. And I want to highlight a bit something Russ Morgan said is he was saying that, Arsenal had the likes of Bergkamp, Henry, Wiltord and Kanu. And I remember those times very well, Russ, because I was even a season ticket back then. But not only that as well, is that it wasn't just the strikers who chipped in. Ljungberg would get 15, 20 goals. Pires would get 15, 20 goals. And unfortunately, we have none of those players now who chip in with those goals. And those kind of players cost 20, 30, 40, 50 million. And, it's not something that we have ultimately that we've invested in, isn't it? Because we've let the likes of Lacazette, Adebayo, Aubameyang go, and brought in the likes of Havertz and Jesus, who are superb team players, but they're not guys who are going to get 30 goals. But I digress, Sivo. Sorry.
No, we're going to end the Arsenal chat in the sense of with this little game, which I'm wondering if you will win. Arsenal have lost 4 games in all competitions this season. Do you know the teams that you've lost against?
Okay, it's Bournemouth is 1. Definitely Bournemouth.
Can you guess the score?
2-0. Wait. I'll do it in a Sivo way. 2-0.
Yeah, that's correct. So we're straight off with a bang there. 3 points, Ray. Who were the other 3?
We've lost to Inter Milan, 1-0.
Yeah.
We've lost to Newcastle, 2-0.
Yeah.
And we've lost to Newcastle, 1-0.
That's right. And the other game that you lost, but because of penalties, how did that game end?
1-1.
So the games that again, it was a 1-1 draw, but the games that you've lost, they've all been like close.
Yeah.
It's not like you've lost 3 or 4 goals or been in end-to-end thrillers and lost. It's tight, compact games where, if, like you stated, you had a striker, could the games have ended differently? Could, for instance, if you can remember far enough, with Bournemouth beating you 2-0, can you remember why there was reasons as to why you lost that game?
Yeah, so with the Bournemouth one, unfortunately, Saliba got sent off after 20 minutes with a Trossard back pass and a last man, and Saliba got taken down. And I always agree that if it's the last man, like, you should get sent off because you literally dragged him down. But with the other games as well, is that if we had we're being linked with the likes of Vlahovic, Sesko, Gyökeres, these box strikers, Sivo, is that I would love these players, but Arteta needs to understand that these players there won't be team players, if that makes sense, Sivo. They're going to be around the box. They're going to be there to finish chances. So as much as I would love these players to be at Arsenal, Arteta needs to understand, a bit like Haaland, like, look, he isn't going to be a link-up player. These guys aren't going to, get involved with channel running and all this kind of stuff. They're going to be in the box, put the ball in the back of the net. And I think Arsenal have all this wonderful attack. Like even today, we played some wonderful football. All we needed, be a guy in the middle as a disruptor, put the ball in the back of the fucking net. And in my opinion, if we had those players, we'd absolutely get more points. We'll be on, in my opinion, an additional 6 points. But if Arteta's going to buy that player, a bit like what Pep did, and I know we spoke about this in the summer, is that the moment Haaland came in, Man City don't play as fluent football, do they? However, they got that guy to put it in the back of their net, and that's what we're missing. The moment we get that kind of player, any of these guys that we're talking about, Sesko, Vlahovic, Gyökeres, Isak, there's no way we'll get it. It'll cost 150 million. Those guys will be the likes of Haaland, but it means our football is not going to be as fluid. However, we are going to get more goals. So.
Well, we'll move on to what everybody's... I was going to use a terminology.
Oh no, FPL, boo.
Total Steve-O. I can't say it, so I'll leave that for Total Steve-O with Patreon again. Sign up for $4.99.
Can I look, everyone? I'm sure the 62 we have watching now, there's probably 47 who are not Patreons. Guys, you have to become a Patreon $4.99 because Steve-O.
Hold on a minute, because Steve-O's going to be ending this channel anyway. It's all going to be done through Patreon for free, so you may as well join there for free. So
don't worry about the $4.99 for free, yeah? Is that ultimately Steve-O is literally like 3 or 4 streams a week. James, producer James, he said to you something like, the moment you put out a stream, he stops what he's doing and he listens. I've told you before, I'm exactly like that as well. Just Steve-O's pure entertainment of A, his predictions and the way he says 0-0 or 1-0. B, obviously his planning, but then C, of course, just generally answering comments. And I'd like to say we get a good 5 or 10 comments pretty much every time. It's completely worth the $4.99. And Yeah. There you go, my man. Did I say it well enough?
So moving on to the FPL stuff, where I can gloss
1-1.
over it. I don't need to really talk about it because I'm bored already. Just the fact that I brought up the page, I'm bored. Could I have done anything different? Could I have gone with Ray's plan of Watkins and Robinson in for Timber and Sarr? I could have done. Look, Watkins and Robinson brought in 16 points. Timber and Sarr brought in 4. So I missed on 12 points. And it is a sickener. And look, the reasonings for this were quite simple, really. I expected, and we will get into it, I expected Leicester to at least score. Yeah, it's pathetic. Forget FPL. From a real life perspective here, Leicester to not even score against Fulham is disgraceful. I think it's absolutely shambolic, to be honest with you. Yeah, ironically, Ray, the current home form suggests that they struggle scoring goals at home. They've only scored 11 all season. That's it. Whereas away from home, they've scored more. They've scored 12.
Of course they have.
Fulham, on the other hand, once again, prior to today, had only scored 14 goals away from home. They don't lose many games. They've only lost 3. They'd drawn 4. And it was a 3-4-3 prior to today's game. And I thought, look, this is legitimately a match in which Leicester should be targeting to win. And they came out of it with a 2-0 loss. It's pathetic. So I thought, well, like I stated, I expect actually Arsenal to, ironically, to be able to hold off Aston Villa more likely than Fulham holding off Leicester. But obviously that's backfired, especially the fact that Robinson getting 2 bonus points as well is more of a kicker as well. And then, of course, Watkins, you stated that, look, he is an individual who has a good record against you. But I looked at his away. This was his away points. And obviously I took into account, obviously, Aston Villa's away form and everything. But away from home, this is what he got. Okay, he got 8 points away at Everton. But before that, it was 1 point against Newcastle, 1 point against Nottingham Forest. Now then, let's play a game with you, Ray. How many points did he get against Chelsea?
0.
2. 2. How many points did he get away at Liverpool?
2.
How many points did he get away at Tottenham?
2.
How many points did he get away at Fulham?
Probably 2.
No, he got 8. And then away at Ipswich, he got 11. And then he got a 5-pointer against Leicester and 2 points away at West Ham. So apart from the early start to the season, him and Aston Villa did diddly squat away from home. And yet the 1 week where they're away at Arsenal, he comes through with his standard 8 points. But the good thing is, Ray, is that I own him. That's the good thing. So there's a small chance that idiots are probably going to bring him in and I'm going to make money on it, which is the only thing I seem to be good at this game is making money. They've got 2 good fixtures next, which is Wolves and Ipswich. So we're here. We can happily hold on to him. So I'm kind of, look, the thought process and decision making was there on my behalf. The other debate was whether to play Fabianski or Flecken. I'm not going to lie, I was absolutely infuriated at the fact that the game between Brentford and Liverpool was 0-0. Flecken was coming through with potentially a 10-pointer, and I'm just staring down a barrel just thinking, this cannot be happening. And obviously, we all know what happened. I miss out on 1 point. Fabianski getting 2. Flecken, well, I'm assuming he got 3. That's my assumption here. I'm going to quickly look now. Yeah, he got 3. So I missed out on 1 point. Other than that, look, the team speaks for itself. Today, Salah captain. The reason why I went Salah captain is for the simple fact that Liverpool away from home get lots of goals. Brentford at home concede 2 goals. So I thought, well, there's a high chance that Salah's going to be involved in something today. And it was just one of those anomalies, Ray, wasn't it, where he gets absolute diddly squat.
Exactly. I mean, Liverpool created more than enough opportunities. I personally agree with the captaincy shout. I mean, of course, I went for Robertson and Watkins over Timber and Saar, as you said before, but I went Salah captains basically because Brentford defensively are just not strong anymore. Ultimately, they actually go for the team. They actually go for the opposition, and Salah could have definitely got returns today, and he's probably the most. I'm pretty sure he'll be the most captain player, and however, of course, with Palmer, I would definitely think that he'll play, and he's probably a quite strong captain. So if he gets a return, it will probably work against you. But otherwise, I can't argue with. And the thing is, Steve, when I look at your team as well, is that I didn't agree with your lineup, but I don't think it was a bad lineup, and you've set yourself up brilliantly to the point where someone like Watkins, who's definitely going to start these games, like you said, it's not 2 fixtures he has 3 great fixtures. He's got West Ham, Wolves, and Ipswich, so I definitely, and Chelsea at home, which I don't think is a bad fixture. So quite rightly is that this season, if there was something I think you've done very well, is you've hopped onto players really well from a pricing aspect, but unfortunately they're not fucking returning.
Again,
wait, which apparently is important.
It is, and again, look, I could have easily have just gone, you know what, I respect your opinion, Ray. I'm going to pick the 3-4-3 formation that you have sent me by benching by benching Timber and Saar for the Watkins and Robinson. I could have easily have done that, but I thought, look, but Steve-O, if everything goes the way of what you think, which is Leicester to score against Fulham, and you're expecting Crystal Palace to be in a high score, well, not necessarily a high scoring game, but certainly the history suggested a high scoring game, and you think that Aston Villa aren't going to do particularly well against Arsenal, and that actually came through, then at this point it's brilliant. I've gone against my own advice or my own thought process, listened to a good mate of mine, and even though I respect his opinion, but the irony is, of course, that actually it's just proven that you know more about football than me.
I got it, and I appreciate what you're saying, but ultimately is, you're looking at Timber, Arsenal, normally a strong defensive team. I can understand why you went for him, and Saar obviously got a great return last week. So I don't think it's more about football, but like I said, I don't think with how good your squad is at the moment, Steve, I don't think either of us will come up with anything wrong. Does that make sense? Like in the past as well, I've said you should bench Konate, and you bench Konate and you got a return. You're like, Ray, for fuck's sake. I'm like, yeah, I know, because you've built a really good squad, and that's what no Haaland does, isn't it? Is that you can build 15 top players, so that even when we're planning going ahead, Steve-O, where we're looking at Mikalenko and Liverpool as well with the double, and I don't even know if we should talk about the assistant managership today, but ultimately it's not more about Ray knows more ball than Steve-O. It's more of, look, this week I got fortunate, which is not good for Arsenal, obviously, but I think next week it will likely happen with you because you've got top players and top assets, isn't it? And I think what's really annoyed me about our team, if you like, in respect, is every single week I look at a team, I'm like, oh, it's a great team. It's a great team. There's not much I'd do, but they're not fucking performing, isn't it? Like, I know it sounds, it's not even, well, in my opinion, it is my team because obviously we work on it together. But, I'm just looking at it thinking this is just bullshit because you're getting so unlucky to the point where, it's bullshit because, Saar away to West Ham is actually a great fixture because West Ham don't know how to defend. And I watched the highlights today, and that bastard could have got a couple of assists today, isn't it? If my finish.
From what I could tell, or from what I can hear, Saar seems to be the assister of the assister. That's now twice he's given the ball to Eze for him to then pass on to the striker to score. That's happened twice now, Ray. And it's extremely frustrating in that circumstance where you have got a player of Ismail Sarr's quality. Yeah, he's assisting the assist. I mean, I'm just looking at the results here. Not one single home team got any points apart from Arsenal, which was 1.
Yeah.
Brentford 0, Liverpool 2, Leicester 0, Fulham 2. 2, West Ham 0, Crystal Palace 2. What the fuck, Ray? Like, by all accounts, West Ham were an absolute shambles today. They, by all accounts, they could have played till next month and they wouldn't have scored against Crystal Palace. So certainly, West Ham are a team to potentially target in the near future. Crystal Palace are just continuing their extraordinary form. I was going to talk to you briefly about Mateta actually, and looking at potentially looking at bringing him in for Isaac, with their fixtures being Man City, Nottingham Forest, Liverpool. They're not the greatest. Whereas Crystal Palace's fixtures, they really do turn around, and they are looking... Well, actually, no. Forget what I've just said. It would be actually for potentially for Chris Wood, where their fixtures, they are really turning. After this Southampton game, it's Bournemouth away, horrible. Brighton at home, horrible. Fulham away, then Newcastle, Arsenal, Man City. Could it be time, Ray, to maybe switch to Mateta for Wood?
Yeah, so it was quite interesting because I was planning a bit with your team, and obviously with mine with Telegraph, and I've gone up to the top 700, which is obviously great news with some transfer I've made. I found that there's 110,000 managers, so I'm very happy to obviously be in that position.
That's incredible. Just say that again, Ray. What rank and how many managers playing?
So at the moment, there's 107,000 managers in Telegraph, and I'm currently 642nd with 21 transfers left. The average in the top 1,000 is 14 transfers left. So in Telegraph, I'm delighted. I'm top of my mini league again now, so I'll definitely rub that in on Nima. But I think, you were talking about Norwich, Nottingham Forest as well. I'm really interested to see if Arsenal add that striker, Siva, because in game week 25, as you rightly said, when Newcastle have Man City away, Nottingham Forest and Liverpool, 3 very tough fixtures, in my opinion, for someone like Isak, I'm very interested to see what Arsenal do, because we got Leicester, West Ham and Forest. Forest is a tough game. But the team I really like in that point is Brentford, Sivo, because that's when I think someone like Visser, away to West Ham, away to Leicester, home to Everton. He was brilliant for me in Telegraph for the month I had him as well. I think someone like him could be an absolutely phenomenal asset, because Brentford are making so many chances at the moment. So as much as I understand what you're saying with Mateta, I think the Brentford fixtures are brilliant. And I could genuinely see you going for someone like Mbumo from game week 25 onwards, and maybe double up with Visser as well. So yeah, Mateta's brilliant. Honestly, I'm so impressed, and he did very well for me in FPL last season. But I think Brentford are more attacking.
Isn't it a weird coincidence that last season, the second half of the season, Mateta steps up, this season in the second half of the season, Mateta stepping up? I mean, the good thing for my team is that I've got 2 free transfers. I don't need to do anything really next week, and then we go into game week 24 with the double game week for Everton and Liverpool, and like we've discussed, the only thing that I'm probably going to be looking at, if anything, is Mykolenko, and that's it. But you mentioned a Liverpool player on the message, and I said the problem is that there's possible rotation risk, and it was a certain player beginning with G.
Yeah, I like the Cody Gakpo move, simply because it kind of coincides with, the tough fixtures for... Okay, maybe not Newcastle are home to Fulham, but then away to Man City, Forest and Liverpool. And then, of course, Watkins got great fixtures, so you keep him. Great shout, by the way. It's because you did it before anyone even spoke about it. But I like the Gakpo shout because he is starting every single game, Steven. And if he's not playing up front, he's playing on the left. And I think after Salah, Gakpo's been their second most effective attacker. And I know it's risky, but in my point of view, this is right. We are attacking rather than going shield per se. Is that, with someone like Gakpo or maybe Diaz, but I'm going to say Gakpo for a moment, is, you take out one of those front 3, but not Watkins, either Isak or Wood. Bring in Gakpo, bring in Mykolenko, and then you got 4 players for that double. And then, Liverpool have half decent fixtures and then eventually take out Gakpo and bring in, like I was saying, Vissa before, maybe Havertz or an Arsenal attacker. Who knows where we are at that point. But yeah, I like the Gakpo shout because I think for those 2 or 3 fixtures, he could be really, really good. Because let's remember, before they even have that double Sivo, is at home to Ipswich Town. And I just feel in my loins that Gakpo stroke, maybe Diaz, because he's a midfield shout, is someone that you should entertain. What are your thoughts?
The problem is it means getting rid of a striker out of Watkins, Isaac and Wood. So if we're going to go down that route of, all right, and Steve-O, we go into game week 23 with 2 free transfers and we get rid of one of Isaac, who is at home away at Southampton. Well, that would be absolute madness. You're then getting rid of Watkins at home to West Ham. Oh no, yeah, game week 23.
Ditto, yeah, madness.
And then you're left with Chris Wood, who away at Bournemouth. So, based on what you're saying, you'll have either Gakpo for Ipswich, Bournemouth, and Everton, or Nottingham Forest away at Bournemouth at home to Brighton. I tell you what, mate. I tell you what, us speaking like this, that could be the answer.
I think, Steve-O, because you brought in Wood, because I did say the Gakpo shout before this, the deadline, didn't I? Where maybe bring him in now. Is that now I'm just thinking, you know what? There's probably no point. I mean, unless you're going to bring in a Liverpool defender. I know they got the clean sheet today, but their XG wasn't as impressive as Anil would assume. Is that, look, Trent is not highly owned anyway. I think Trent, Salah, and definitely Mikalenko, I think are more than enough, Sivo, because I still don't think Trent is heavily owned enough at the moment. So if I quickly look at it right now, is Trent at the moment is owned by 26. Well, 26 is quite high actually, and you'll probably be bought in a bit more. Is that when I look at your team, maybe to make it a bit straightforward, maybe someone like Darwin. I don't rate Darwin very highly, and maybe a defender, but even then, the only defender you can really look at is maybe Van Dijk, because Kanate is not someone who's been consistent in regards to his appearances. So maybe just the likes of Trent. Obviously, do you still have your triple captain?
Yes, I've got everything.
Likely triple captain Salah anyway, which will probably be more than enough.
Well, I don't know.
I don't like it too.
No, I'm not using it. I don't think I'm going to use the triple captaincy. For Salah, this is it's not great, but what is it? The last 2 fixtures against Nottingham Forest and Brentford away, he's accumulated 5 points. You could argue, one minute here, Brentford away, they normally put up a brick wall against any of the big teams. Nottingham Forest away is a very, very, very difficult fixture. Very true. He's then got Ipswich at home, where I'm assuming most people are probably, in fact, I think most people are going to be captaining Salah versus Ipswich at home. And then it's the double. Yeah. And the double, I'll be honest with you, Ray, Bournemouth away ain't that great.
No, it is not.
And then Everton away.
Who are literally going to sit in the penalty area.
Yeah. I think it's not really worth using it, personally. I really don't.
I agree with you because, of course, you're going to have the Carabao Cup final, which will, a team will not play that weekend. And then, you got the FA Cup, obviously, where other doubles will eventually appear, obviously, because teams are going to get into the last 16 in the quarterfinals. I actually agree with you that you shouldn't triple captain. I think because you use that transfer in the Wood, there's no point bringing in Gakpo, because I did say that prior to the deadline. I think Trent, Salah, who you're captain anyway, and Mikalenko is probably just enough. And then just, again, hold, because I personally think the team is in a good spot to really attack the last 15 games of the season, because you basically have all your chips left, including, obviously, the assistant manager.
Yeah, this is exactly the point. This is the thing with the team, is that looking at that double game week, it's, if I do want to bring in Mikalenko, it's let's not mess about it. It's for Leicester. That's it. And then whatever they get against Liverpool is just a bonus. So if it's just 2 points, it's 2 points. So you're hoping for, Everton to keep a clean sheet against Leicester, and by a pure miracle, potentially an attack in return against Leicester for Mykolenko. And then, of course, when it comes to the Liverpool game, you're just thinking, well, whatever Mykolenko gets, he gets. But we're really hoping for Liverpool to pull through with Trent and Salah, because, like you state, depending on the circumstances regarding Jota, look, this slot guy is no mug, stating the obvious, but he has got Diaz, Gakpo, and Núñez fighting for those 2 spots. And if you do throw in Jota, which is 4 players, did Jota feature on the bench today? Was he in the squad? I can check, but unless you know off the top of your head.
Well, I'll check quickly. I've got SofaScore up here, so let me check very, very quickly.
If I find this before you, Ray, then the answer is
fired.
He wasn't.
Was not.
No, he wasn't in the squad today. So, as it stands right now, there's Jota.
So, Darwin actually came off the bench, so yeah.
Yeah. So he's got Darwin, Gakpo, and Diaz fighting for those 3 spots in 2. And I've always said this: Diaz, Salah, and Jota, I think, are the best front 3, and Gakpo and Núñez being the really good impact subs. Even though ironically Jota's been really good recently, but once he starts being first teamer, he will just be up to scratch and scoring left, right, and centre. But this is the thing with Gakpo, is that despite the fact that of recent times he has been, the last time he played less than 90 minutes was against West Ham away, where he played 57 minutes, where ironically he got an assist in that game. He got a goal in that game. Prior to that, he got a 90-minute, 67, 69, 66, 72, 61. In fact, it's only really of recent times, the last 3 fixtures, where he's played 80-plus minutes. So
the thing about Jota as well is, there's no doubt if every single player is fit, Jota should be in the first 11. The problem is with Jota, Sivo, is that his fitness is really, really poor. Like he just is never available from a consistent point of view during the season. He just breaks down consistently. I made a joke to Mo, Trophy Mo FPL. I said they call him Mr. Glass, from Unbreakable, because he's always kind of having an issue. He reminds me almost of Tomiyasu, God bless him. So Gakpo would be a player that's more consistent, but I just don't think it's worth the risk now. Does that make sense? You've got the 2 most ideal players in Trent and Salah. Just leave it at that and move going forward, because again, Bournemouth away and Everton away are not enticing fixtures enough for me. Bournemouth were outstanding today. They actually deserved the 3 or 4-1 win. They were absolutely brilliant. And Everton is their biggest game of the season, isn't it? And David Moyes is just going to camp in, and I wouldn't be surprised if that was like a 0-0 or anything like that, and just make sure that it doesn't give Liverpool the opportunity. So yeah, I just look at it and think, look, if you're going to bring in a Gakpo, it will eventually probably be a headache, when ultimately Isak, Wood, and Watkins are probably guys you can keep for another 3 game weeks, isn't it? No need to take them out, in my opinion.
Watkins guaranteed to, with the fact that Duran's back now, is it back to normal where Duran stays on the bench and Watkins continues as first team striker?
Yeah, prior to the game today, I felt like Watkins has finally been getting a little bit of match fitness going. It's taken him way too long. He's not performed well this season, and rightfully has been dropped. I think he's perfect against an Arsenal, because he is one of the best counter-attacking strikers I can think of in football, that I think he will start to play these games, Steve, and I think he'll start to return, because he was, even before the goal today, very, very sharp with his running, his hold-up play, running the channels. I think John Duran is a super player, but he can't do what Watkins does. He can't offer as much for the team as someone like Watkins. So, yeah, I think Watkins is going to be a player who's going to be heavily bought in the next week, Sivo, because their fixtures are brilliant on paper, and I think he's going to perform. And I think Aston Villa will start to turn the corner in regards to chasing for Champions League again. And obviously they're still in a great position in the Champions League itself. So yeah, I think Watkins super asset.
Yeah, and look, the truth of the matter is, I'm just quickly looking through I always just look at the moderator chat league where most people have had, a similar amount of players to me. We've all got, give or take, 4 players left. I've got Ahmad, Palmer and Wood. And then there's most people have got the same players, other than some have got the likes of a particular defender, or they've got the Sells goalkeeper. But other than that, most people have got 3 or 4 players. But one player that has got the majority of the team left to play is actually Jason. He's got 8 points. He's on 4 points. He took a -4. He's still got Sells, Mazrari, Vardio, Ahmad, Fernandez, who was his transfer in, Palmer, Wood captain, and Haaland.
Wow.
Okay. So Jason's still got a really, really strong team to be playing tomorrow. He captained Wood. Now, Mr. Reed, who's doing really well this season, he's captained Wood as well. Expecting good things from Nottingham Forest tomorrow?
I am actually. I mean, I did a bit of an extreme move. I took out Jackson, Timber, and Mitoma, who did get me points actually. So it's a nice way of saying goodbye. And I bought in Bruno Fernandes, Lewis Hall. So I celebrated his
that's why you put that post out, right?
Yeah. I could have actually bought in Clive at Hilarity, who's the same fucking price, but it is what it is. So Hall, Bruno Fernandes, and Wood. So I think Wood is going to be a solid asset for the next few weeks. They're not going to create as many opportunities as a Jackson per se, but at least in my game, he's cheaper as well. But yeah, I'm kind of looking at Jason's team. Like you said, he only had 3 players playing today, but like you said, he's got a lot of big hitters playing. Of course, he's got someone like Haaland, Steve-O, and if with Haaland playing, and he's a differential for him as well. He gets 1 or 2 goals, which you can see happening, and he'll just move on. And I want to talk about Haaland. Did you hear that he signed a contract for 115 extra months? Isn't that a piss take?
I think the whole thing is...
I find it very funny.
I just find the whole thing absolutely fucking absurd. It's beyond parody.
It's mad.
I don't really... I'll be honest with you here. I don't really focus on that much football these days as in news, because to be honest with you, most of it just seems like fake news. I've just seen Alf's here. Good evening, Alf. And he obviously talks a lot about AI, and I've slowly, very, 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 very slowly been coming across either news stories or videos which aren't real. It's all generated by AI. And I'm just bored of it all, Ray. Anything that I look at, I'm just like, yeah, I've seen it all before. Or like with Haaland, it's well done. You've extended your thing by God knows how many years, months, days, whatever. It's parody, Ray. It's all just parody. It's just a fucking joke. And for a player, okay, he's what, 22? It's mental saying that. 22, 23 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's 22, 23 years old. And he is an absolute machine. Let's not mess about here. He's an absolute machine. But to be having a contract which basically is just saying, right, if anybody wants to buy him, they're going to have to pay an extortionate price of money. That's it. That's all it's for. My assumption is that. Am I completely right, wrong, or?
No, I mean, Chelsea before the whole, in the financial fair play was always kind of like to keep the hippies quiet aspect a good decade ago. And, Chelsea were buying players on 9-10 year contracts, Steve-O, to basically kind of suppress the FFP aspect. I think that's what Man City are doing with Haaland as well, is that if Man City suddenly don't perform for a couple of years, someone will buy him for 150 or 200 million. Absolutely. No player is off the market per se. I had a couple of conversations today, funny enough, with, when we were going out, me and the missus and the kids to see, other parents in the school. is, one of the father's also a football fan. We were talking a lot about Arsenal, and we were talking about the Haaland thing. I said, look, he ain't going to be there till 2034. If they suddenly don't perform, someone's going to come up with a massive bid, and then suddenly they have leverage saying we've got 5 years left, and you've got to spend 150 or 200 million. And there was another aspect I want to say in regards to AI as well. So recently, the better half, Milady, has started a new job, and she's in recruitment. She's been in recruitment for a long time. And they're using AI as well, Sivo, to basically generate candidate lists and the right areas of attacking to find the right candidates per se on the job requirement of a client. And you're quite right, is that AI has absolutely kind of led the corporate and financial world to a point where even myself, if I'm, very well, then I don't mind saying it here, is that, I work a day a week at Clinton Cards. The other 4 days, I'm actually working as a project manager in a London office, which I've showed you pictures before, is that, if you want to write a decent summary on a website, you can just go to ChatGPT and say, write a decent website, write something for me on this website. And you'll come up with like an 8 out of 10 rating kind of level, isn't it? So it's got to a point where we don't have to be creative anymore because we've got the technology for it. So I just thought I'd add to the point you were saying about AI.
It is absolutely crazy how, we're not going to do a Jason stream of going down routes of AI and UFOs, but it is quite scary how, for instance, with Alf, I know that on his streams he'll use AI to kind of get an answer regarding an FPL player who's the better pick, or if he asks a question about a particular individual, it will come up with an answer which is so bordering on, just so accurate that why would someone like Alf or anybody that uses AI just be like, no, you're speaking shit? Because truth be told, if I was to ask AI today, who should I bench out of Timber or Robinson, it will tell me Timber. If I was to say, right, shall I play Watkins, Sarr, or Iwobi, it will say Watkins. Because it will probably say, well, Watkins has got a really good history versus Arsenal, and Iwobi and Sarr, they're up against 2 fullbacks, which are going to be very, very difficult to play against, blah, 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 blah. They don't score many goals. Play the attacking player. I know it's very simplified format, but
yeah,
it is quite frightening. And does it worry you? Like, does AI affect your job full stop? Like, is it in the near future where your job as a project manager just becomes non-existent because AI can do it?
Yeah, I think what's becomes really scary is there's no real originality anymore, Siva. My job in air quotes has become easier in the last 6 months. The thing that has maybe Touchwood got me by is, I've got good references of people saying that, oh yeah, you should speak to Ray, or as you know, my real name, Rehan, because he's done Touchwood top work in the last few years. So I've got my experience and references to help me. However, it doesn't take a genius now to say, write me a good project plan on ChatGPT. Ultimately, it can be done. And, even with the interview I had the other day is, it's a role in Mayfair or something like that. And I think I shared it with you before. And all I had to say was, okay, these are the requirements. Here's my CV. Sell me on ChatGPT. And then when I was talking to the guy, I was just reading off that. Was it a cop out? Absolutely. However, the technology is there because everyone is basically using it, Sivo. It's just the way I present it. However, when you're in the job, there's only so far the technology can take you, because when someone comes to Sivo and says, Sivo, can you explain how we're able to deliver this project even though we're down one man? ChatGPT can't answer that question for you. So you'll very quickly be found out. Can it get you to a point where you can get a job, for example? Absolutely. But the moment you're in the job, will it save you to make sure that you perform to a point where you're kept? No, it will only do it for a limited amount of time. However, we will eventually get to that point, Sivo, where the technology really can just basically make you fucking cheat your way through all these jobs. So is it scary? Absolutely. Is originality gone? Absolutely. But is this something we need to embrace? Unfortunately, yes, Sivo. And I know it's something you've covered in your podcast in the past.
Gary's saying here, I assume AI would just do the FPL choices via betting odds. I doubt it does that kind of analysis. You want to make a bet on that, Gary? I've listened to Al's streams. I listen to his streams all the time, and it is absolutely frightening when he types. I mean, it's a specific AI that he uses. He has to pay for it. I forget what it's bloody called now. But it is frightening, the responses that he gets to some of the questions that he asks. It's actually quite scary. In fact, Alf did a bit of fun. I mean, you're saying here you got AI to write a song for you and whatnot. He put together a podcast just for AI. I don't know how it worked, but he just typed in, can you create a podcast which involves two people talking to one another about FPL? And he did it. It took, what was it, Alf? About 30 seconds, if that, 3 seconds. And he actually put the podcast out. And I listened to about 5 minutes of it, and I'm like, I believe this is real, but I know it's not real. And it's using all this data that's collated to have a conversation with one another. It's just images and computer sources bringing it all together. It's actually pretty crazy, to be honest with you. But
Siva, look at the Sunday Surgery song. It's from Jason just put it in lyrics, and then suddenly it made it into a song, isn't it? To a point where it actually sounds legit. It doesn't sound
well. Funny you say that, because I know for a fact that Andy, Let's Talk FPL, he did exactly the same thing, and the song sounds identical, apart from the only difference is that the lyrics are different. That's it. It's got the same tone, the same. I can't just. I'm not a fucking expertise in any of this, but when you listen to Andy's stream intro and our stream intro, apart from slight differences, you can tell it's AI. You can tell instantly it's AI. It's not difficult to work out. And I think someone complained about not in a horrible way, but they just said like, "Oh, great, another streamer using AI music. I've heard this all before." And unfortunately, there are a lot of people out there that are using AI to just come up with. I mean, I know somebody that's using AI just to do graphic design. He would pay, 200, 300 quid for an individual to actually physically draw and come up with an idea and everything. He just stopped using them. Paid AI.
Yeah.
The thing is like, for instance, if we if we stop using Alex Vollo, who's absolutely incredible when it comes to his thumbnails, if we stop using him and we just use AI, it wouldn't come up with the ideas that Alex Vollo does. It just wouldn't.
No, but you could prompt it. You could say, make Mbumo hold up the head of Haaland or something like that, like beheaded, and you'll be able to do it. But again, like you quite rightly said, it's like iRobot. I think iRobot's a fantastic example of where AI is going. I think Will Smith asked Sonny is like, could you create a table, or could you do what chess, could you make a symphony or anything like that? And he literally, and then Sonny the robot goes, well, can you? And he couldn't answer. But the point being is like the AI will act on a prompt of what you put in there to whatever it can. Like, for example, if you go on Grok on X, I do it sometimes. I think you've seen it, where I'm like, put Matoma in a black football jersey that says FC Saigon, because that's the name of my Telegraph team. They'll put it. But I have to prompt the technology, something that Alex does brilliantly. And I know Alex as well as you do, wonderful guy and fantastic with his graphics and stuff like that, is that, he'll actually come up with something creative and straight from the gnome, which is brilliant. However, that is becoming a little bit of a novelty now, because you're quite right. For £20 a month, Steve-O, we could go onto ChatGPT or whatever, or Adobe GPT, and say, hey, make Ray look like a twat, which is normal, but basically, have a player hold up the head of someone else. And that's where AI is going. So I have a lot of respect for the fact that you and Jason try and keep it original, but you guys are becoming a dying breed of keeping it original. Does that make sense? Because AI is it's a cheat code, my man. It really is.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to go down this route. You could just profess that any of the large content creators are created by AI now, because it's just copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste. There's nothing.
Yeah.
You could literally put into an AI whatever, can you just do me a live stream for a deadline? And it would pretty much be identical to what anybody that does a deadline stream does. Just answering questions. It's not difficult. People write in, who do I captain? And it will just literally come up with exactly the same twaddle that these that these people come out with. It is quite extraordinary. Ray, is there anything more to chat about? Because I can't think of anything else whatsoever about today. Is anything that's happened in your life?
In my life, yeah. So, obviously, I was very happy with how well I've done in Super Brew, and I actually put out a post on it, and I tagged FPL Bailey, and we followed.
He was here earlier, I think.
Yeah, he's doing absolutely brilliantly. I mean, he's got 223 points, and at the moment, his rank is something ridiculous, isn't it? I mean, you'd probably know better than me, but
he was 27th.
I've gone down to 4th in our league because Bailey's he's one of one, isn't it? None of us going to catch him, but yeah, I'm 4th at the moment, and I just wanted to. I mean, I don't mind sharing it myself, but my predictions at the moment in regards to tomorrow's game is I'll do it in the classic Steve-O voice. Everton versus Tottenham, 1-0 Everton.
Oh mate, you do no. You've got to do it as Everton.
That's boring.
Tottenham.
But I need your voice.
Everton 1, Tottenham 0.
Okay. All right. I'll try and do it in your way.
We then move on to whoever it is.
Okay, we now move on to Man United 1, Brighton 1. We'll then go to Nottingham Forest 3, Southampton. Go on, Sivo. We'll play Ray's game. Go on.
0.
Southampton 0. Yeah, quite right. And then we'll go to Ipswich 1, Man City.
Oh.
Fucking hell. And then we'll go to Chelsea 3, Wolves
1.
Oh, he's looking at my screen. Well played. So yeah, those are my predictions to somehow close the gap to 40.
Yeah, I mean, in all seriousness, let's just quickly look at tomorrow's fixtures just briefly, because they are quite interesting from a standpoint, from an FPL point of view, because I this is just from my personal perspective. I'm looking at, like we've already stated about Pickford and Mikalenko coming in for this double. How will Everton perform against Spurs? You've then got, will United continue this? Well, I say continue this momentum. Let's not fuck about here. They played against Southampton. They losing 1-0 until the 88th minute, where it bloody was, and they lose 3-1 from a Ahmad hat-trick, which is just absurd. Nottingham Forest, will they continue? Will they just continue being Nottingham Forest and just get through a match winning 1-0, 2-0? Probably. And then, like you state, will Jason benefit from Haaland doing really well against Ipswich like he did before? Is there any games there that stand out for you, Ray?
I actually think the Man United-Brighton game really stands out, because I think Brighton are going to come out with something ridiculous like 62% possession. However, I do think that with Maguire back, hilariously, but in a back three, I think he's phenomenal in the back three. So he is. He was brilliant for England when we got so far. Is that I'm really intrigued to see how Man United actually perform in that game. I predicted a 1-1, simply because I do think Brighton are going to get loads of opportunities, but they're struggling with a striker at the moment, while with Man United is hopefully Bruno will get a dodgy penalty or anything like that. So yeah, in my opinion, that was actually the toughest game to predict. I actually think Everton will beat Spurs, because Spurs have actually lost more games than Everton in the league this season. They've lost 11 compared to Everton's 9. I mean, still they're both fucking shit. But I do think the Man United-Brighton game is going to be really interesting, simply because I'm really intrigued to see how Brighton is set up. But what about yourself? What's the game that you're kind of looking at thinking, ooh, that's a tough one to call, or you're intrigued by? Same as me?
I think, yeah, it is. I mean, because Nottingham Forest and Man City have got, let's get real, it's pretty easy fixtures. I think seeing if Man United can actually get through a really tough fixture, because it is going to be tough against Brighton. Look, I was just literally just looking at their away form, and they score a lot of goals, but they also concede a lot of goals. Brighton do. They've only lost once in the last 6. That was a 3-1 loss against Fulham. But other than that, they've got a 2-1 win against Brighton. The last time they played away was away at Ipswich, where they won 2-0. But then they've got 3 draws in a row in there. They've got a 2-2, a 1-1, a 2-2. So this could be a very, very, very intriguing game. Man United, on the other hand, at home, are coming off the back of 3 losses and a win in the last 4 home fixtures. Those losses coming against, once it loads up here, 2-0 against Newcastle, 3-0 against Bournemouth.
They're so bad. They're such a bad team, honestly.
At home.
And then 3-1.
At home specifically, it's extraordinary how bad they are. I mean, even away from home, it won twice, drawn 4, lost 4, scored 10 goals, Ray. This is Man United. It's disgraceful. So this game looks like, based on how many goals have been scored and conceded by both teams, it looks like it's got a 1-1 or a 2-2 written all over it, to be honest.
Yeah.
And that's the way I personally see that game. I'm hoping that Haaland is kept quiet, which, to be honest with you, I don't think he will. But I'm just, from an FPL point of view, I'm hoping obviously Ipswich score against Man City to wipe out their defensive points, but I just can't really see it. And then obviously Brighton scoring against Man United, and like you quite rightly said, actually, I'm hoping Spurs get shut out by Tottenham, because a lot of people do own Tottenham assets, like the likes of Solanke and Kulusevski. Yeah. They're still quite highly owned, well, within reason. So, I'm more intrigued by Chelsea Wolves, because let's not fuck about here. The Maresca, the manager, literally said that Palmer, Enzo and 2 others, they're looking doubtful for the Wolves game. Now, I very much doubt it. Imagine if they didn't play.
Yeah, I mean, if you look on paper, Chelsea can literally put 2 players out per position, isn't it? They've spent so much money. Like they're in the position they should at least be, in my opinion. You know, there's no Jamie Carragher, who's someone I don't usually agree with. I think he chats a lot of dross, but you know, he said that these guys aren't underdogs. You know, they've got a £1 billion squad. So if Palmer, who is by far their best player, if he's unavailable, massive issues. But they're probably playing Kunku there, who's, you know, not one of the bottlers, as Jose said back in the day. But yeah, I think the other players like Enzo, all these other players, they could probably get away with not playing. I think Palmer will be absolutely strapped in. But something I want to ask you, incredible. So there's 73,149 players in Super Boost, Sibo. Guess what rank?
I've just seen it from.
I'll say higher or lower. You get 3 guesses.
It's frightening, isn't it?
No, you've seen it. Yeah. 19th is absolutely unbelievable. Just to tell you, I think I've had a brilliant last couple of weeks. I'm 1,607th, and he's 19th. It's yeah. Keep it going, Bailey.
It is, and yet ironically, he's not doing that great in FPL. And in fact, what's really interesting is that looking at the Super Brew Mini League, is that the people that are doing well at FPL aren't doing great at Super Brew, and yet the ones doing good at FPL, the ones doing good at FPL aren't doing great at Super Brew, and yet the ones doing okay at doing well at Super Brew are doing not great at FPL.
Yes,
it's weird how it doesn't correlate.
I agree. It's that logic versus emotion aspect, isn't it? Because ultimately, FPL for me is you do well normally when you apply logic, but you know, something like FPL is just, you know, because you know, obviously, you know, and I think a lot of people have heard obviously our pods in the past as well, is, you know, it's emotion that usually kind of gets ahead of you with something like FPL, but with Super Brew, it's very much like, yeah, this is what I think the score will be. I'll just go for this.
Absolutely. And on that note, it sounds like my laptop is about to explode with the amount of data coming through. So what I will say, Ray, is as ever, it's been great finally to be doing a Saturday night reaction. We haven't done one of these for 5 weeks.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
Yeah. Happy New Year. Yeah, all that nonsense. Yeah.
Oh, it's Christmas.
Yeah. it's crazy to think. I can't even remember the last time me and you did a Saturday night reaction, actually. I genuinely cannot remember. But anyway, that's beside the point. So, yeah, as ever, thank you for joining me. And I'm assuming, obviously, moving forward, we're going to continue with these. I mean, that'll be fun. I mean, next week, I can't even think of what the bloody fixtures are, to be honest with you. But next week, when we're doing the Saturday night reaction, it will be for the games of the day, which include, once this loads up in front of me, it will be reacting to...
You. Come on.
Well, it's actually...
Bournemouth versus Forest.
Yeah, go for it, yeah.
Brighton versus Everton. Wolves versus Arsenal. Man City versus Chelsea. Liverpool Ipswich.
I'll tell you what.
4-0.
I'll tell you what, Ray. There's some good fixtures. With all the big boys playing. Man City, Arsenal, Newcastle, Liverpool, Nottingham Forest, Chelsea. It's a good day of football.
Definitely. I mean, first of all, Steve, honestly, like, joking aside, it's great to be back on a stream again. Lots of normal banter towards Ray about being a free assistant manager, which you love. But I'm up. It's good to be back on stream. It's good to be talking to you again, obviously. And as always, it's a pleasure, my man. And like you said, I'm looking forward to kind of getting back on it again and doing our weekly streams together where we review your team and slit our wrists. Yeah.
I said to my mate, I was like, "Oh, the railway bridge isn't too far away. I'm just going to start walking now."
Till I'm blue in the face.
Yeah. On that note, if you are brand new around here by some miracle, thank you as ever. If you want to subscribe to the channel and support us, then that's the easiest way to do so. Easiest way to support this stream is just by hitting the like button. By all means, if you want to comment afterwards, give us some feedback about how your poxy game week's gone. By all means, crack on with that. If you want to join our Patreon for free, all you got to do is right there on an app. You just type in Elite FPL and you hit a join for free button. Any additional content does come underneath a paywall for $4.99, but there is the odd podcast here or there that goes out for free, and including a 3 hours? I can't even remember now. 2 or 3 hour long Q&A with Jason, which is all available for free, so you can join for free. And other than that, anything else I can think of? Oh yeah, you can follow us on TikTok, where I basically occasionally will put up a clip of something. And on X, you can, again, follow us on there, where I will literally be posting nothing on there. I'll be more than likely just deleting and blocking accounts, to be completely frank.
You ain't done me yet.
No, I'm down to, on my own personal X account, I'm down to 114, isn't it? So I wonder if I can get down to 50 by the end of the year. I mean, it's not exactly difficult, is it? I just press a button, but I wonder how many more people by the end of 2025 will annoy me enough where I just feel the need to go, do you know what? Just unfollow. I wonder if I could do an FPL, isn't it FPL Focal barely follows anybody?
Who?
Oscar.
Who the fuck is that?
I don't think Oscar follows anybody in the world of
He doesn't.
anything. So, yeah, other than that.
Sorry, do you want to hear a funny story? Sorry, Steve, you want to hear a funny story? So with Oscar and, last season, I said, you never follow anyone, man. It's such a bitch. He's like, no, I will. And I was like, all right, well, let's flick a coin. So heads, he'll follow me, and tails, I'll follow him. And it got tails, and I was literally crestfallen. So I had to follow him, and then a few other people he did literally coin flicks to go on. But I don't know, now I have no interest in FPL apart from obviously supporting you as well. But one thing I did want to say as well, Sivo, please guys go on to the Total Sivo podcast. Sivo and I actually did review the episode 3 of Vince McMahon's documentary as well, covering the Montreal screw job. So I'd highly recommend that, where Sivo and I, as he would say, spoke absolute toddle, yeah? Where, we covered the Montreal screw job, and hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we're going to cover the Attitude Era, which is definitely the best era of wrestling history. So, yes, Sivo, I thought I'd sell that quickly.
Well, I'm actually looking into rewatching that episode again, because I did watch the following episode, and I think I joked about it, but I got a bit bored of the next episode. I was like halfway through, and I'm thinking, spoiler alert, I'm not going to say anything about it, but I was just like, yeah, I don't really care. This is crap. But the episode 4, I really, really enjoyed, probably because it's our era. But then again, episode 5 is my era, and I'm just like, yeah, I don't really care. It's just boring. But anyhow, we're going to get onto that anyway. But interestingly enough, I did record this morning an episode about that piece of shit, Bonnie Blue. But more interestingly, the reason why I did that episode is because Launchpod Studios, one of their podcasters called Brogan Gillett Smith, who I've only just discovered, but I went out my way to try and find out what a podcast is called, and it's called Getting There, THERE. And she actually interviewed Bonnie Blue, and I was in conversation with one of the producers and Ash about this particular individual. And I didn't really want to do a bonus podcast on it, but I have done. That's out on Tuesday. But what I'm going to do is I'm then going to do a review of Brogan's podcast with this Bonnie Blue and see if I learn something which I may have to backtrack on from my opinion about these scumbags in the bonus one that I did. I'm probably not. In fact, if anything, I'm probably just going to be talking about the fact that actually I've just been proven right that these pieces of shit need to be wiped off the face of the planet. Maybe go to the nearest railway bridge and jump off. But anyway, are we still live? Yeah, we are. Anyway, on that note, let's get the fuck out of here. Ray, see you later.
Cheers, Steve. Cheers, everyone. See you next Saturday.